Trog, welcome to Porch Beers. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Absolutely. So we're going to do two questions. I've got a personal finance, kind of a, how are you doing it on your level that might relate to us on our level question. And then I've got a bigger picture about the economy. You obviously have a very deep expertise on global economics, finance, big populations, big money sets, big data points. So I've got a question there that I want you to give us a little clarity on. But let's get down to business. What are we drinking today?
So I have a double IPA from Full Steam, which is a neighborhood brewery. And the name has a bit of a backstory. So
yeah,
I'll tell you the story first and I'll tell you the name. So theme park in Japan reopened, and of course they were trying to be safe with health. And they wanted people to really kind of stay within themselves on the roller coasters. So they put out a video of like the CEO and the CFO in suits riding a roller coaster, straight face, not screaming, not yelling.
Zero emotion.
That's right. At the end of the ad, they put up a public service announcement, which is the name of the beer, which is "Please scream inside your heart."
That's the name of the beer?
That's the name of the beer, yeah.
I love that.
It's the double IPA.
Double IPA, scream inside your heart. From a global health conversation, an area that you're perhaps one of the most educated and researched individuals on the planet, I'm going to take your word, and that is absolutely where we should be. I'm going to scream inside my heart going forward. I'm going to do, it's a beautiful summer day here in Portland. I'm going to do something a little lighter than the double IPA. I've got a Moscow Mule ginger lime ale from Left-Handed Brewery. It's a Colorado based. They do lots of kind of funny, cool little one-offs. It really tastes a bit like a Moscow Mule, but it's a beer, which is, saves the prep time. Of course,
yeah,
which is
sounds
nice.
Delicious.
It's good. It's my wife picked it up. She likes a nice summer beer as well. We're on a cul-de-sac, so we get out there, and we do the cul-de-sac, sit in a lawn chair while the kids play around and have a nice Moscow Mule beer once in a while. So awesome. Well, cheers. Enjoy that double IPA, and we'll get down to business. First question: personal finance. Personal money managing question. Aside from a homeowner's or renter's insurance, and obviously car insurance, what else, if anything, in the insurance package do you carry? How much? And a little backstory, if you may.
All right. Let's see. So you mentioned kind of the required stuff, right? So if you have a mortgage, you have to have home insurance. You're going to drive a car, you have to have the car insurance. We have, I think the next two I would put important to be life insurance and disability insurance. So on the disability insurance, I've always had that through my employer. I've always kind of topped up if they've offered something.
Okay.
But that covers, if I get sick or injured and can't work, we'd have to do something to replace my salary. So that's what the disability insurance is for. And then the life insurance, we've bought term life insurance. So you buy a policy that's good for X number of years, and then it's done at the end of that. It's a super competitive market. So you get a good price. They're easy to price. And the younger you buy them, the cheaper they are. So I think those are the two policies we've got right now. I've thought about an umbrella policy, which usually would kind of wrap in your car, your home or renter, and then it basically just covers any excess liability. And I've thought about it. They're pretty cheap, but we haven't pulled the trigger on that yet.
Okay.
But if somebody fell on the sidewalk in front of my house or something, that's kind of stuff is what it would cover.
Gotcha. So follow-up question and a personal anecdote. Follow-up question on life insurance. Term life insurance over whole life is the direction you went. Do you consider it a part of in a in a world where you don't pass unexpectedly, in better case scenario, do you consider it part of an inheritance package for your kids? Or do you consider it a complete emergency? You know, I passed away unexpectedly and I got to make sure that there's at least a year or two runway for recovery, support, financial background, protection, etc.
Yeah. So in terms of the amount, the way I thought about it, and you'll hear different rules of thumb on this, but um, I really just tried to put myself in a situation where it was just my partner and the kids, and what kind of things would they need to cover. I mean, the kind of the first one is it's also income replacement, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I have X number of years of earning capacity left. If our family depends on that, then that's kind of like the biggest chunk of what I have to replace. But there's also things like, you know, funeral expenses, any extra expenses that your partner might have, like for childcare, you know, a different car, you know, something that may have to change when you're not around. So that's kind of how I thought about the level of coverage. I don't necessarily see it as like um, an inheritance, like this would be like the seeds of what my kids would get, but it's more
Right.
about making sure my partner could live the life that we're used to, you know, without changing too much. There's going to be plenty of stress in that situation anyway. So,
Right. Anecdote, if I may.
mm-hmm.
Several years ago, I was considering the concept of life insurance, and I had kind of a lot of questions. As somebody who didn't have a background in the insurance industry or have a particular grasp, I was curious about whole life term. How much is it really? Like, what if I were to save a separate investment account or something like that? So talking to my wife, she said, you know what, you should call a friend who was a peer, another entrepreneur who was quite successful. He was 10 or 15 years older than me, and was the type of colleague and peer who I could ask this type of advice. So perfect. Saturday afternoon, we're both in retail, so it was pretty busy. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna call the store, just check in and just be like, hey man, if you got a few minutes, let's talk. If not, then let's put something on the books. I got a question I want to ask you. Call the store. No, he's not here. Maybe you should call his wife. I'm like, Saturday brick and mortar retail. You're there as the owner.
Mm-hmm.
You're there. That's Monday morning. That's the important day when
Right.
all the emails come through and all the customers come in. So call his wife, and she answers the phone. And I was like, hey, just checking in. I wanted to run a couple questions by you guys. And she's like, well, your friend is my husband is in the hospital right now. He fell off the roof. And I was like,
Oh,
he fell off the roof? And he's like, yeah, he was cleaning out the gutters and doing some repair on part of the roof, and he fell off the ladder off a 2-story roof and was significantly injured.
wow.
He survived and was very and recovered. But I was like, cool, I'm gonna go ahead and get that life insurance. And it was
Yeah.
literally the call where I was like, he was married, he had a business, he had a child that was not yet in college, he had everything that was kind of that runway of like, what happens if? And in the back of your mind, sometimes you're like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna keep doing this. I got this. I can carry the burden. And something as easy as Saturday morning before heading into work, he was just gonna knock out one of the daily chores, get up on the roof, clean off the gutters, and next thing you know, he's in an ambulance being taken to the hospital.
Wow.
So it was something that turned the corner for me on that conversation. But it's a bit of a topic that I think requires some unpacking, because it's a little intimidating and it's also a little complicated at times. And something we've talked about in the past, if you just go into it blind and you don't know what questions to ask, or if you don't have a kind of an agnostic viewpoint about it, you could be sold,
Mm-hmm.
or you could be, oversold, or things like that. So I like having a little bit of an unemotional, as we often talk about, approach to that. So thank you for that, and thank you for indulging me on my my anecdote about life insurance.
Sure. Well, that may be the strongest answer you could have ever gotten for that question. So
it was, right after, is everything okay? How can I help? It was, got off the phone, called my broker, and I said, let's set up a conversation about life insurance. So.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. What new financial product in the modern kind of finance tech startup space has caught your attention? Why? And unpack it a little bit for me, if anything.
Well, probably the one I use the most is Personal Capital, which is an aggregator site. So it's a little bit, I think Mint has kind of a similar feature.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it because I can link all of my different accounts and see them all in one place. So I can track progress, I can track holdings,
Okay.
I can track my allocation, stocks, bonds, cash.
Yep.
And I can even do some goal planning, and they have some, kind of tools in there. So that's probably the one that I've used the most. I mean, there's been some
Okay.
others that sound interesting, but I have more experience with that one directly.
Yeah. And so a bit of a personal financial dashboard with a past, a present, and a future component to it.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Very cool. We'll put a link on the website there so people can digest it a little bit. By no means is it a paid supporter of us or anything. We, just, this was an off the cuff question, and there's a lot, coming out of the Bay Area, there is a lot of experimentation, a lot of new ideas, a lot of kind of cool, let's disrupt the industry this way. And again, the emotional side of me is like, yeah, let's try that. What is that? What is that? And your scientific, financially conservative and emotionally restrictive viewpoint is well appreciated in that moment, so that I'm not day trading on margin on some site in the next couple hours, trying to bankroll my next product.
the apps that I tend to pay attention to are the ones that try to save you from yourself, right? So it's the app that like pays off your credit card as soon as you buy something. It's the app that kind of rounds up and saves that, so it's those apps that are like trying to protect you from yourself, not open up new margin accounts, so you can day trade.
Yeah. Awesome. Good feedback. Much appreciated. Solid advice and calculated approach to your personal situation as always, and delicious Moscow Mule beer while we did it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Brett.